Hey, mamas and friends, and welcome to Unplug with Just Wit, the uplifting podcast where we dive into faith, family, motherhood, and a whole lot more. I'm your host, Just Wit, and I am beyond excited to have you here with me, so let's get started. Hey, y'all, and welcome back to Unplug with Just Wit. So, this episode is going to be like a behind the mic, unveiling my journey, and I'm going to share how this podcast, I guess you could say, came to be. So, yeah, this podcast, Unplug with Just Wit, was a thought in my head about a good 3 years ago. And I didn't do anything because I felt like everything had to be perfect and I had to be in the studio. And as y'all can see, I'm in my office. This is where I am. But I think it was because at the time, like I was looking at the journeys of other people that have been podcasting and I'm like, dang, like I need to do this. And also trying to do this literally right after I had my child. So those of you that have children know most of the time in the beginning stages, you're super early in the morning, late, whatever. So during the times that I was actually up, I would be researching. So I would be researching like the type of mic. I would be researching, really, it was mics now that I think of it. And I had took a podcasting class as well. So I was just like looking into different mics and just all the things that go along with the podcast. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. So I actually bought my mic 3 years ago and I didn't do nothing with it. I decided to blog instead. And I think it's because I was more comfortable there with blogging. I guess you could say the intent was to really talk about my journey in postpartum and how it affected me and different things like that. But again, my mic sat in my pink file cabinet for 3 years. So I think it was sometime last year. And I was like, I need to record this podcast. Like, what am I waiting on? What am I doing? And so I was like praying and I'm like, Lord, I need you to help me with the name and just all sorts of different things. And he did. And I recorded season 1. So here we are at season 2. So I think I switched from blogging to podcasting because for me, it's just a little bit easier and it's like an audio book. People can listen on the go whenever you want, different things like that. So I was like, Unplug with Just Wit. Like, I wanted this podcast to be a podcast where I could not only share my own experiences, but also uplift and support my fellow warrior mamas, okay, who were craving something for themselves, like balance and self care. I wanted it to also include God. I wanted it to be empowering, uplifting. Of course, this is faith driven. It's about my journey, which is not perfect. It's about the mom next door. It's about the mom at Walmart. I'm growing to love Walmart, y'all. Well, that's a stretch, like it. It's about the mom that wants to take that journey. It's about the mom that has challenges and seasons of growth and is inconsistent with her relationship with God. And it's about the mom that's just truly not perfect, but she wants to be better. So it's about planting seeds of resilience and all the things and just showing you my journey with motherhood, faith, and family and friends for season 2, because it's a lot of friends. But really, the beautiful gift that God has entrusted me with, which is this podcast, which is the Mommy franchise, and how I really discovered navigating the waters of raising this tiny human while really pursuing my own dreams and just never really stopping, which is not easy. I'm not going to pretend like it is, but I make time for it because it's important to me. And when God gives you something, you just go out and do it pretty much, right? So I just want this podcast to resonate with the mom next door. As a mom strategist, helping moms really ditch procrastination to activate their purpose, it is so important to me that I see moms grow, that I see moms change, that I see that moms are learning, are thriving. And so I'm really hoping that this podcast, the seeds that I'm planting, that they sprout in your life, especially when you're having a tough time, especially when you're having a good time. So I'm going to just be honest, because the podcast is not anything smooth. Like, I took a break, of course, to do season two, and I really debated on recording season two. And I'm going to tell you why in a second. So I recorded debating season two because I felt like, oh my gosh, like I have another thing that I'm doing and it's taking up money. So here's the thing. Yeah, I can edit my podcast myself, but I don't want to because not that I can't learn, but I want to leave it to the experts, number one. Number two, I feel like that's just going to take time away. So why not pay? And I'm like, oh my gosh. But I thank God for my editor because he is wonderful. He fits within the budget that I have because, again, I'm paying for this out of my own pocket. So, yeah, I had to let some things go, or I might not be able to do some things. That's okay because I want to be sure that I do all things with excellence unto the Lord. So he has made it very possible that I'm able to pay an editor. And even when I do video, it costs different, longer episodes cost different, but still my editor is gracious. He is wonderful. So I thank God for him. And I tip him. And I know that as I grow and think this podcast grows, that God is going to not expand my reach, but he's also going to expand the financial portion so that I'm able to maybe one day like rent a studio and have guests come in or whatever. Like all the things y'all know, God don't do nothing small. But even aside from just the financial piece and me and being like, okay, I could probably be saving this money, whatever. Doubts and like fears, like when I look at my analytics, like they're pretty good, but I'm like, not a lot of people. So here's the thing. I think more people listen on Apple Podcasts versus Spotify. And on Spotify, I think I have like one follower, and it probably is me, to be honest. But I think I get a lot of my analytics, or I see the analytics off Spotify a little bit easier than Apple. So sometimes it can be discouraging. So that's where that fear of like, is it people really care? The doubts. But then I finally figured out how to look on Apple and see like reviews. And I was like, oh, okay. So if y'all don't know, reviews make the difference in any entrepreneur's life, any entrepreneur's journey, whatever, like reviews matter. So if you can, like, please leave a review, please share. That matters to all of these things. And I think on Spotify, like I'm trying to monetize, but it's like a whole bunch of back end. Pretty much, long story short, I have to grow and I'm okay with that. But sometimes it can be discouraging. Like that's what I'm giving y'all. Like this is behind the mic or behind the podcast. So sometimes that can really dampen your spirit. But then I have to remember, like, God is in the midst. So it's definitely moments during season one where I question my abilities. It was times where I was struggling to get out the podcast and wondering if I'm really truly qualified to share my story. So that's when that imposter syndrome comes about. And I'm like, and then people are like, I want video. And I'm like, okay, like, let me try this video thing. And I'm like, how am I going to do it? When you're on video, like video is forever. And so I'm like, I got to get my background right. I got to do this, this, this. So video is coming. I am working on it. And then I'm like, I have notes because I don't want to miss anything. And so I'm like pressuring myself to come before you on camera and not be sitting here with a note card and reading. And I'm like, nah, do what you do, girl. I have to literally pep talk myself. Okay. Then on top of that, y'all know people be out here copying and stealing and all of that. And then you start to see things and you're like, I don't even want to do it no more because this person is literally copying my style, even almost sounding like me. Like it's very strange. So I'm like, do I even want to do this anymore? But yeah, I'm gonna keep doing it. And I think I find it to be weird. Don't copy. It's okay to be like, oh, I like what she's doing. Like maybe I can share my story. Like, yeah, because I ain't the first one to have a podcast. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is y'all can't just be out here just copying. It's crazy to me and it's weird. That's all I'm gonna say. And I'm gonna get off of that. But we gonna keep it moving right along, okay? Commercial break. Shout out to my mom because she actually got me a new mic. And it's funny because she was asking me like what I wanted for my birthday or Christmas or something like. I always think of something for me like personal. When I say personal, I'm thinking like, oh, I want some perfume or I want a new purse or shoes or whatever, whatever. And I did want some new boots. They didn't fit, so they didn't work out. So she's like, okay, well, I don't know what to get you. And I'm like, me either. And I'm like, oh, a mic. I forget that sometimes I have a business investment. So I think this year I'm going to do better at just expressing what I need in terms of my business. And so she got me a mic, and it was a mic that I've been wanting for a very long time. So shout out to my mama. Shout out to my mama. Thank you, girl. Yeah, I just want to say that y'all know that God doesn't call the equipped. So, yeah, this podcast is not perfect, but He equips the called. And I know that my story is filled with imperfections and triumphs. And I know that I have the power to touch many hearts. Like, I've been on other podcasts, which I'm more comfortable on, maybe because I'm not like leading it, but I'm stepping outside of my comfort zone even more with season 2 because I'm going to be talking about some deep stuff. At least it's deep to me. And season 1 to me was like a trial run or whatever. And so season 2 is going to reveal more of how I became a mother and just like talking with other people and just getting comfortable with that because I was not used to interviewing folks, y'all. And I realized like I got to get it together in the sense of like actually have questions. And because I like to just free flow. I think if I was a rapper, I would be like a freestyle rapper. Probably not a good one, but I realized that season 2 made me be like just like a little bit more organized, if that makes sense. Like getting myself together. And on top of that, my friend and I actually are going to be launching our podcast. So we were in the midst of recording episodes and different things like that. And I had to take a break. So hopefully that will be coming out soon as well. And just to give you just like a little bit, but it's for the corporate baddies, okay? Because I'm still a corporate girly. So is she. So I'll probably have her come on and we could chit chat about that. But I said all that to say, go after your dreams, like go after everything that you want to do, no matter how silly it sounds. If God has given you something on the inside of your heart and it's like, I want to do it, do it. Do not wait. Do it because I think when you do it and it's not perfect, you learn. And I love that because if everything is perfect, how can you learn? How can you grow? So I'm not saying put garbage out there, sound like garbage, like do everything in excellence, but stop waiting for the perfect moment. And I realized that when I did launch Unplugged with Just Wit, I had literally took a leap of faith. Okay. So every episode is heartfelt, it's vulnerable conversations. It's really a testament of my journey. And y'all on a journey with me. And so I am sitting behind this mic talking to y'all, pour my heart out to you. Just really like having a girlfriend chat, but really having a space where we can just really embrace the imperfections, find balance, and dive deeper into our faith. And as you're listening to this, I want you to be like, girl, me too. Like, that's me. Like, I understand. Like, oh my God, is she talking to me? And I think that was one of the reviews. And I was like, oh, yes. I was like, that's what I want. Like, that's what I want. And I got so excited. That's why I said reviews matter, y'all. Like, please leave a review. If you have a topic, join Podcast Pals. The information will be linked in the description. But I want it to be like we sitting on the phone. And if it's on video, we on FaceTime. So with that said, I want this podcast to just be a lifeline for you. I want it to be just as it has been for me. It's been very therapeutic, but just a place where we can be vulnerable and celebrate victories, big or small, and cheer each other on, which is why I created Podcast Pals, okay? And I want you to join. I want it to be a space where you can unplug from the noise of the world and just listen to the whispers of God's grace and love. And if something resonates with you, please, please, please tell me. Please send me a message on Instagram if you will, if you want to. And I just enjoy Podcast Pals. Like, even if you want to be a guest on the show, of course, I'm going to vet you because you're not coming on the show with the foolishness. But I am more than excited to have you on the show and we can go over all the logistics then. But I just want to say thank you for listening. I just want to say, hope y'all didn't hear my stomach. That's going to be another episode coming up. I just want to say thank you for joining me on this beautiful journey for navigating the waters of faith, motherhood, family, entrepreneurship together. And just let's remember, y'all, that we are never alone. We are a community. And sometimes you just got to really find your community. You got to find your sisterhood. You got to find those moms that resonate with you and that lift you up and find freedom in it and faith feel living and all of the things, because every community is not going to be for you, but find the community that is for you. Okay. So shout out to Mommy Franchise, because even though God gifted me with that community, it's actually a community for me too. Like, I like going up in there and kikiing and not feeling judged and asking for advice, because we have moms in there that are vets, like in the game. Okay. They know what it is, but also just a space where I can be like, hey, y'all, this is going on. Or have y'all ever experienced this, as a mom, child, whatever. So find the community that fits for you. And if you're interested in joining Mommy Franchise, again, everything is going to be in the description. So y'all, until we meet again, this episode is going to be ending soon. And I just want to say to my fellow mama, sister, keep shining your light, embrace the imperfection. It is the beauty of your journey, because you will always have a story to tell. And always remember that the Lord is with you every step of the way. So until next time, take care, and may God's love surround you always and forever. Thank you for listening to Unplug with Just Wit. Before we part ways, remember to hit the subscribe button so we can keep the conversation going. And hey, don't keep all this goodness to yourself. Don't be shy. Share this podcast, and don't forget to leave a review.